Hi, my name is George Bullock, and I'm Product Marketing Manager for Microsoft Project. I'm excited to be with you virtually at Microsoft Ignite Spring 2021 to share Microsoft's vision for project management and to introduce my esteemed colleagues, Heather Heide, Gurkan Salk, and Sagita Chapaitane. Heather will demo Project for the Web, and then she'll hand it over to Gurkan and Sagita, who will show you Dynamics 365 project operations. Here's a quick agenda, but let's get right into it. At Microsoft, we talk to customers around the world, and one of the things we hear from so many customers is what we call the work management gap. It starts with the fact that we all manage projects, but we're not all trained to manage projects. And we all know that collaboration is critical to project management. But it's often chaotic and happens everywhere. It happens in hallways, in documents, in emails, in chats. And we also know that teams are usually in the best position to know how to manage their work. But legacy tools that we give them are often difficult to use and very constricting. So one of the things we see happening is that teams choose the tools that make the most sense for their work and for their team. And this can be great for the team. But now, data is everywhere. It's a mess, and even a simple task like gathering status for a report can be time-consuming and manual. And most important, we want to make better decisions with our data, but data's everywhere, and it's hard to get the big picture in real time. At Microsoft, we're excited because we believe we're in a unique position to help our customers bring all their project management data together across the Microsoft platform. In a single connected work management platform that brings together all of these Microsoft services and the capabilities and services they provide. In the first part of this session, we'll focus on Project for the Web. Now, Project for the Web is built on Office groups, and so it is natively integrated with Office 365, which of course brings in Teams, Planner, To-Do, Outlook, SharePoint, and more. And because Project for the Web is built on the Power Platform, Power BI is our native reporting engine. And with Power Apps and Power Automate, customers, partners, and ISVs can configure and customize Project for the Web to meet unique business needs, as well as to develop ground-up customizations and applications. Now, with the Project Roadmap capability, project, program, and portfolio managers can bring projects together from Project for the Web, Project Online, and even Azure DevOps to build visual roadmaps that allow them to track progress across multiple work streams. And finally, as you can see, Project for the Web stores all its data in the Microsoft Dataverse. This allows customers, partners, and ISVs to customize tables, add custom fields, and even add new tables to meet business needs. Now, with all that, our vision for work management is simple. We want to empower teams to work the way they want, while enterprises get the results they need. Now I'm going to talk a bit about where we are, what we're thinking going forward. Going forward, we are working to bring our tools and technologies together to help organize connect work across the enterprise, from the shop floor to the top floor, and to help them keep people, teams, and information aligned from strategy to execution. It starts with Microsoft Teams, the hub for collaboration, visibility, and work management. With Teams, executives can communicate strategy and track progress across portfolios. Project teams can collaborate, manage projects, and communicate status. Teams and individuals can collaborate on all types of work and manage the execution of that work. And frontline workers can stay in control of their daily tasks and responsibilities. Frontline workers need to complete work assignments, collaborate with team members on assignments, and even build and use apps that simplify work requirements. These workers can use Teams for collaboration and task management. Microsoft Lists is there to help track and organize information. With To-Do, workers can track individual tasks with the confidence that they will be able to access and update these tasks as they work, no matter which app they're using. And with Power Apps and Power Automate, everybody can quickly build and share low-code applications. Information workers need to do many things, including collaborate with teams to complete work and develop content that supports initiatives. For managing task-driven efforts, Microsoft Planner helps organize teamwork using intuitive, collaborative, visual task management. And with tasks in Microsoft 365, team members can use @mentions within comments in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint to create and assign tasks. Project managers and their teams need to plan and manage projects, execute them efficiently and effectively, and communicate project status and other metrics to stakeholders up to and including the C-suite. Now, complex projects often require more power, intelligent scheduling, dependencies, reporting, and more. And today's PMs want a tool that is easy to use, but that grows to meet the complexity of the work at hand. That is where Project for the Web comes in. Project for the Web helps you stay organized, focused, and in charge, from small projects all the way to your largest initiatives. And the upcoming Project Accelerator solution is just one example of how enterprises can harness the Power Platform and combine it with Project for the Web to meet important project and program management needs. And if you go back and see my Fall Ignite 2020 session, you'll get a taste of the Project Accelerator solution. Now, in the C-suite, executives need to create and communicate enterprise strategic plans, use real-time dashboards and reports to make decisions, and track strategic initiatives against deadlines. As I said, the project roadmap capability allows organizations to create visual timeline views of strategic initiatives and drive them together to achieve business goals. And of course, with Power BI, executives can discover actionable insights in project data to help make informed decisions fast and plan confidently for what's next. So that's our vision and where we're going with project management. And now I'm going to hand things over to my most esteemed constituent, Heather Heide, who will show you what Project for the Web is all about.
Thanks, George. Now I'm going to show you Project for the Web. And we're actually going to start in teams, because if you're going to work on a project, you're going to need a group of people. And I'm going to start by creating a new project. So I click to add a new tab, and I create my project here. And I will already have a bunch of projects showed up that are already associated with the group, which is a part of this team. But I'm going to click to create a new project. I need to name it, so we'll say Hi Ignite. And click Save. And now my project is being created, and I can start tracking my task and adding those to this project. And the great thing with Project for the Web is, to get going, very minimal information needed. I just gave my project a name, and now here I am, and I can start to add my task. Cool. So I have my project list going, and now I want to start assigning my task. And since this project is associated with my group, I already have all my team members here to assign a task to. So I can just type to assign a task to Brooke. Maybe Nancy is going to work on one. Maybe Lucy, who actually is not on this team, but she's going to start working with us. So when I type to search, we'll actually search all of AAD, and I can easily assign a task to anyone. So I'm going to click to assign to Lucy, and now I'm going to add her to my group. And she'll have access to everything now that it's part of this group. Next, I'm going to create my task hierarchy. So I want to select my task and indent them, and I can start going this and just keep adding more information to my project. So right now we only have a couple columns in, but of course I can add more. So let me add my start column, finish, dependencies. And we're going to make this full screen just so we have a little more space. And now you'll notice as I added my task, I didn't have to fill in any scheduling information. But as I add more information, you will see that the tasks start to become scheduled. And I can even link my tasks together. So I can do that when I click. We'll actually suggest your neighboring task, because when we built Project for the Web, as George mentioned, we really tried to make this a modern, usable experience, and we found that people weren't likely to link their tasks to their neighboring task. So we'll suggest those to you, but you can also type to search too if you want to. And now I inserted a couple existing columns, but for this project, we're going to have some legal reviews needed, and I want to track which task will need those. So I'm actually going to create a new field. And we have new fields of a couple types. So you could have text, date, number, or yes, no. And I'm actually going to choose the last one. And then I want to say this is my legal review field. And I add that in, and now that's in my project, and I can use it, and of course I can set it for the couple tasks that need to have a legal review. Now this is just one of my views. I'm going to switch over to the timeline view, and you can now see your task laid out over time. You'll see that these tasks are connected because I had already done that in my grid. But of course I can drag to create some more links and just start visually laying out my projects. So now that I've connected them all out, you can see about how long it takes. I'm like, ooh, this task, I don't think it's going to take 2 days. I think it's going to be longer. Let's move that out a little bit, and you can see how my project immediately adjusts to reflect that change. Now I'm going to switch over to a project that's a little farther along. So let me come into our market research project, and you'll see that this one has a lot more task and information in it. One nice thing for Project for the Web is that we'll also highlight pieces of information that you need to know. So you can see that this task is highlighted red because it is late, and then I have this task highlighted because it's due today. Well, this task is assigned to me and I'm late, and that's not good. But the good news is I'm actually done with this. So I had to define the process for a review. So I have a document now on that. So I'm just going to attach my document to this. And I was already working on the document in the team folder. So it's here for me. Everyone has access to it. I can just pick it up right here, attach it, and now as part of this task, so everybody can see it, who's working on the task will know where it is. I'm going to mark this task complete. And then Jeannie was actually pinging out this task yesterday, so I can even, by bringing up my comments pane, comment back to her. Done. And now she will see the notification and the good news here, and of course can come into the project. The document's attached to the task, so she'll be able to easily find it and review it. So now I'm going to show the board view. So the board view is just another visualization we have that lays out your task. And this I have by default is by bucket. And a bucket can be anything you want. It could be a regional area, it could be part of a process, it could be by team, etc. I have mine more by a process for how our documents are going through the reviews. And I can drag it around just like you would expect. I can reorder within a column, etc. But I can also group by different things. So I'm going to group by assigned to. And now I can see, these are all the tasks assigned to me, including that completed ones down here. Yay! And then here's all the tasks everyone else is working on. And, I was actually talking to Brooke, and she's going to pick up this task. So to reassign it to her, all I have to do is drag it to her column, and that reassignment is made. Now, this is just one project my team is working on, but like most people, we have a lot going on. So for that, we actually have a roadmap view. So you can kind of see high level what's going on across all your projects. And it's a great view to show your leadership or maybe a customer because you can choose which task you put on it. So you don't put all your tasks on it, right? You put your high level ones. And then you can have that conversation that really focuses in on what's going on with your team. So now here I have my market research project, that same project we were just looking at. And this one's the requirements gathering, even though I've got the one task completed, it's just not going well. So I'm going to mark that as at risk, so that way in our next review meeting we can talk about it. And I actually want to add some more details here too. So as I said, I get to choose which tasks are on it. So this is my same task list as you saw in my project. I'm going to scroll down, and the scope definition's kind of been giving us some problems. I want to add that too, so that way we can talk about it in our meeting. And you don't have to worry about your dates not being up to date. Through the power of Power Automate, we have a flow that will keep your roadmap up to date with your project. So now that task I selected is on here, and as I said, I want to talk about it. It's kind of high risk. We need to discuss it. It's here now for our next review meeting. And one other thing in the roadmap I want to point out is you'll see these dates up here at the top. These are our key dates, and you can add as many as you want. So another date, and I'm going to put that just at the beginning of April. And these are really good for aligning your team. So basically everybody on this roadmap needs to be aware of these dates and needs to be working to it. And honestly, when we do roadmap reviews, this is where you spend most of your conversation, is talking about this. Because if you can be aligned up there, you can align on everything else. Now lastly, it wouldn't be a project demo without talking about reporting. So let me switch over to Power BI. Now this was loading as our Power BI report back that we provide to you, and then is Power BI. So you can take this and completely customize it to your needs. If you don't like how we have the charts, if we don't have the right information for your team, you can fix it all in Power BI or update it. So now this shows all the projects that I'm working on and basically how they're doing. I can get a quick, this one's kind of going okay. I got some progress in it. The rest of them haven't started yet, but that's okay. I can see how they're going. I can switch over to my resource dashboard, and now I can see how much work I have per resource and maybe do some load balancing here if it doesn't look right. We're fairly well loaded, so that's okay. And now I can come over to resource assignments and even start drilling in and seeing what people are working on. So let's see, Brooke, what's she working on in March? She has this going on. I think that looks pretty good. Maybe I'll talk about it with Brooke just to review. But now I have these reports that show me across all my projects what my team is working on, what's going on at the portfolio level, and even I can see what is going on more at the project level. So I can come here and show for my market research project, again, that same project we were just in, what's going on and how everything's going. And then with that, that is the conclusion of my project for the web demo. And I'll turn it over to Gherkin, who will now show you project operations.
Thank you, Edith. In this part of the session, I will be introducing Dynamics 365 Project Operations, which is a new offering from Microsoft that we released on October 1st, 2020. I will talk about the business problem our application is solving, and we will then turn to an end-to-end demo. Dynamics 365 Project Operations is a business application that targets services organizations with project-centric service offerings. The solution will help services organizations or services divisions within product organizations to digitally transform their project lifecycle. Services businesses are embracing the move to the cloud faster than product-centric organizations. We see this in our own telemetry and also when we look at analyst reports. There's a good reason for this, as they need the ability to quickly respond to customer or business demand shifts with innovative and valuable service offerings that can be delivered on time, on budget, and within scope. If you look at a product organization, introducing a new offering for the product organization is a long and capital-intensive process. They need to design the product, make sure manufacturing is available, pilot it, prepare the supply chain management processes, get it to the retailers, and finally to the consumers, and launch it into the market. That's not the case, however, for services businesses. They can adapt to demand changes much easier and come out with new offerings quickly or shift focus as needed by hiring the right resources with the appropriate skill set or training existing resources in underutilized practices to deliver the in-demand offerings. In order to do so, they need to have an application that provides these insights timely and gives them the agility to respond to customer or demand shifts quickly. Although these organizations are very quick to go to the cloud, their application landscape within the organization is still very siloed. They usually have a sales system where they track their leads and opportunities that's disconnected from the delivery from the tools that the delivery team is using. Their project managers use different project management tools where project execution is tracked, and project progress information needs to be frequently uploaded to the business application. Project financials and project profitability is usually tracked in yet a separate system. Project team members track time and expenses in a multitude of tools. Consultant skills and profiles are tracked in a different application, and practice managers use other tools for risk management. Merging the data from all these siloed applications to derive insights becomes a challenge and introduces many inaccuracies and inefficiencies in the process. Customers today need to get insights around demand shifts and demand changes in real time, and project operations will allow you to do that. Project operations connects the entire organization and empowers sales, project management, resourcing, delivery, partner management, and accounting teams with the visibility needed to win more contracts, accelerate project delivery, and maximize profitability. Project operations integrates with customers' current systems, such as sales, finance, and HR, without the need to rip and replace existing systems. Project managers are able to use their native tool and plan projects directly within their business application without the need for third-party integration. As project managers assign new resources and update status on tasks, revenue and cost will be seamlessly updated and will flow into your P&L information. Resource managers having visibility to all project requirements and resource availability can easily propose the most optimal resource team to project managers. Account managers can accurately estimate opportunities in collaboration with the delivery team and increase their ability to win more contracts. Partner managers will be able to collaborate with subcontractors and ensure the procurement processes are completed according to the organization's policies and maximize the value from the vendor contracts. The project accountant will have accurate visibility on the pro forma invoice initiated by the project manager and ensure invoices and financials are delivered accurately and on time. Team members will be able to enter time and expenses for the respective projects they are assigned to, but will also be able to get reimbursed on the same expenses without the need for double entry. Dynamics 365 Project Operations is an offering that includes end-to-end capabilities all the way from project sales to project financials. Our project sales capabilities are built on top of dynamic sales and support the opportunity to quote process in a project context. Project sales specific features include CPQ type capabilities for services so that resources can be priced and cost on multi-dimensions such as experience, skills, and geographical location. Project sales capabilities also include creation of a WBS or a project plan for an opportunity, resource the WBS with generic resources, price and cost these generic resources, and turn this into a quote. Once the opportunity is won, the project is handed over to the delivery team where the project manager is assigned to the project. Our project planning capabilities leverage Microsoft Project's Project for the Web, which was built jointly by our engineering teams on the Power Platform. Hence, the project manager can directly manage their projects within project operations without the need for third-party integration or manual data transfer. This also will allow for a smooth sales to delivery handover, which is a challenge in many organizations. Using project operations, the project manager and the delivery team are able to get the full history on the opportunity where they can see the project plan and assumptions made during pre-sales. The assigned project manager then will work with the resource manager to resource the project. The resource manager is a persona that has visibility into all the projects and resource requests, as well as resource availability across the organization. He or she, in collaboration with the project manager, will assign the optimum team to the project, maximizing profitability and resource utilization, in turn minimizing cost. Once the project team is resourced, the project will start executing and team members will start entering time and expenses into the system, where time will accrue to revenue and expenses to cost. We have very rich invoicing and project accounting capabilities as well as revenue recognition capabilities in project operations as well, where the project accountant will be able to invoice the customer at certain intervals if it's a time and material project, or at certain milestones if it's a fixed fee project. Since project operations is built on top of the Power Platform, there are multiple insights that personas can get using project operations, such as P&L information, resource utilization information, and key KPIs that CXOs care for. From a call to action perspective, please go on our website and request a trial if you want to try project operations in your own organization. We also have a pre-recorded session on the internet where you can get more details on our vision and strategy. With that, I will be turning it over to Sigita for her to walk us through the project operations capabilities in further detail.
Thank you, Gurkan. Today we are going to explore project operations through the lens of our demo company, Contoso Robotics. This company plans, designs, and installs robotics arms across multiple manufacturing facilities within United States, EMEA, and Europe. So we are going to start with the sales dashboard, where one of the project sales team's members looking at the queue of the sales opportunities available for Contoso Robotics. So there is one upcoming opportunity that we are going to take a quick closer look. It is equipment renewal for Noiseless Gear Company at the Oregon facility. I can quickly see estimated close date of this opportunity. I can review estimated revenue and adjust that based on the conversations with my customer. And I can absolutely work on the quotes and plan detailed quotes that I'm going to share with this customer as well. So creating a quote is very easy, and you can start either top-down, where you are just planning quick draft estimates based on the previous project's experience, or you can do detailed bottom-up planning, where you prepare a detailed project plan, and based on that, system automatically calculates all the totals and gives you a glance overview at the total amount of the quote, the profitability of the quote, expected margin of this quote, and how it is looking, and is it competitive within customer expectations, and how it looks comparing to the customer budget. You can copy from one quote to another and do variations, like, for example, changing portion of the project to with a different set of resources, like subcontracting a part of the project, or changing resources skill set, changing location of the resources, thus impacting the cost pricing and profitability of the quote as well. So I've just got off the call with the customer. They are happy with the quote. Let's look at the details, what we landed. So in this quote, we are looking at a couple components within the quote. So this project will consist on design services, equipment installation, and in the end we will do inspection. And design services and inspection is fixed price, so meaning that we will bill the customer a fixed amount, and at the same time equipment installation will be billed on the time and material basis. So we do have an estimate, but we will see how the project will go. I can also easily look through the quote and see profitability analysis of this quote, all the details around this, and I can see, based on my detailed plan, how my profitability is going to change over the period of time, and as well what associated revenue I'm expecting based on the specific roles of the people who will be involved into execution of this project. Okay, we are fast forwarding. Customer just approved the quote, so we can close it as one and continue with the execution. So as we are closing quote as one, system will automatically create a project contract. Within the project contract, we can further work and adjust the details that we have agreed with the customer based on this project contract. Examples of that could be set not to exceed limits. So even though we agreed with the customer that we will bill for that equipment installation based on the time and material we spend on this effort, however, customer asks in the contract not to exceed specific amount, and we can definitely set this amount, and system will track for us and explain what amount we already have spent, what is remaining amount based on that not to exceed limit, and what is committed amount, meaning work is already executed, but we haven't billed the customer for this yet. We can also track specifics of advances and retainers. Like in my case, I do have a retainer schedule set with my customer where I'm going to pre-bill the customer on a regular basis with a fixed amount that will allow me to accelerate a project execution. And finally, when I'm looking at the contract lines, again, I can see that these are detailed out based on specific performance obligations or deliverables that I have agreed with my customer, and I can attribute those contract lines either to a single project or to multiple projects based on my required setup. So let's take a look how that project that I have configured for this project contract execution looks like. Obviously, the backbone of the successful project is the right project plan. Looking at the tasks grid, I can see multiple phases that are planned within this project. That includes the design, installation, and inspection that I'm going to perform. I have planned durations and effort for this, for each of those specific tasks, and estimated tasks start and finish. I can look into this grid, or I can look into this project plan through the board view, and also obviously through the timeline. You might be thinking, I have seen this already before, and definitely you have seen this in Heidi's demo when she was showing for you project for the web, because this task grid is nothing else but project for the web capabilities that we've been exploring in the beginning of this session. Okay, so we've got the project planned. We obviously need to staff it because we need resources who would be executing on each of those tasks. And we might be starting with something that in the early stages that is very generic, where we still don't know specific people who will be working on each of the tasks, and we are starting with generic resources. So for example, I know I will need a couple of consulting leads, a network technician, and an optimization specialist for these tasks. Project operations support multiple resource planning modes within the product. So you can, and that can absolutely be catered based on specific customer needs. I can plan the project, plan the resources using either hybrid mode, where project managers can select the resources based on their needs on a specific project, if that is something that more decentralized. And in case there is a more formal process and centralized resource management within the organization, that can absolutely be done by resource manager within the organization, where project managers would just request those resources based on their needs. Resource manager would be reviewing those and assigning those resources based on their skill set, availability, and other capabilities. So resource management, one of the main views that resource management can use is what we call a schedule board. And in this schedule board, I can see all the resources that are available within my organization. I can see at a quick glance the state of those resources over the timeline. And I can switch and see it either in more granular view when I'm looking at the days, or I can go back and look at the weekly view or even on the monthly view, depending on the need and the time span that I'm planning for. In the bottom of the screen, I can look at my booking requirements. And you can see that my equipment installation project does require the resource that I should be staffing soon. I can select this booking requirement, I can see the dates, I can see the expected duration and how much of that I need to fulfill, and I can search across the group of my resources for a suitable match. I can search by resource characteristics, specific roles, location where those resources are based, teams or other attributes that would help me to make right staffing decision. For example, if I'm looking for the resource, that would be a network technician. System will show me the resources available matching this role, and it will show also how these resources are booked at the moment. If I'm happy with this system suggestion, I'm picking the resource and I can book this against the project using a single click. Okay, we have staffed our project. Let's move on to the project execution. So that's the exciting part. Project has started. Project team arrived at the customer side and they're reviewing, designing, and planning installation of those robotic arms. As project team members are working on the project, they must report the time and expense they have spent against this project as well. So what we are looking here is the screen of the time entry, where project team member can report the time that they have spent on specific projects over the course of the working week. And creating this time entry can be as simple as just simply modifying the grid and indicating how many hours I have worked against specific project. I can also use additional capabilities like copying from another week or importing from my resource assignments on a specific project to speed up my time entry. Once I'm happy with my time entry, I can either select the full week that I have entered or specific records, and I can submit that for project manager for approval. For logging expense, again, I can look into some useful capabilities here. So traveling on site to Noiseless Gear did require me to stay at the hotel, and also I have been using Uber services to travel on site with the customer. So let's take a look how these expenses can get reported. My expenses have got already been imported from my credit card details. So I can see that there is my hotel expense and car rental expense available. And I can also easily and quickly do itemization of my hotel expenses if that is something that company requires. I can also check the status of my expense report, each of the expenses, and see how these expenses are matching company's expense policy and if there are no expense policy violations. Obviously, for some of the expense, I will need also to provide the receipts. And I can capture those receipts as I go using a mobile app. So those would be loaded into the product. And I can easily look at the view of those loaded receipts automatically. And even better, system will read that scanned receipt. And through the microservice, it will understand what was the date of the receipt, what was amount of the receipt, and will help me to easily match it against that credit card expense that has been uploaded through my credit card records. And once I'm happy with my expense, again, I can submit it, and project manager can review and approve that expense for further invoicing. So we've got time and we've got expense that has got recorded. Right now, it's time to invoice our customer. Invoicing overview is available through something that we call Global Invoicing Dashboard. So in this dashboard, I can see all the expense and time and billing milestones that I'm working on across multiple projects, and I would be looking to bill my customer. I can drill in and see the details, let's say, of my time and material billing backlog. Looking at the specific records, I can filter those records by the customer, review all the details of the billing backlog, what I would plan to include on the invoice for this customer, and I can easily action right away from this workspace and mark those entries as ready for invoicing. System-created invoices contain all the required details according to the country's tax regulations. So I can review what sales tax the system calculated based on the time and expense and the customer geographical location where customer was located. And I can also review all the totals, including amounts in the currency and how those amounts do translate to the accounting currency of my legal entity. And I can post and print these documents. Printing the documents and creating specific printouts for the documents is also easy, and there is no developer experience. It's all configuration within the system. You can use either Excel or Word document templates to create desired branding on the invoice, details on the invoice, specific attributes, how they should be printed on the invoice, and that can be configured either for all your customers, specific customers, even specific contracts for the customer, or even a specific invoice. And all of that is a configuration and not a customization experience. And finally, as we have the amounts invoiced, it's time to recognize the revenue. Recognizing revenue when it's time and material is a little bit simpler because my revenue and expense in this case and cost in this case is connected. However, if I'm billing based on the fixed price, that is more complicated, but project operations does have a great set of tools to help you to calculate this revenue correctly. Project operations provide multiple capabilities to create various project cost and revenue profiles that will allow you to set specific rules how cost and revenue is going to be accounted for the specific project group, or all the projects across your organization. In this example, I have separate project cost and revenue profiles where some of the projects might be accounted using fixed price completed contract method, and some of the transactions might be accounted using fixed price percentage completion method, meaning I can use a completed contract method for my short-term projects and at the same time use percentage completion for my longer-term projects to meet the regulatory requirements. Calculating revenue estimates can be completely automated by the system, and as your project team members report the time and expense that has been spent against the project, system automatically will compare that against the forecasts that were initially planned for this project, and based on that will calculate current percentage completion of the project. Those estimates, revenue estimates, can be calculated on the regular basis. Accountants can review, can manually adjust those estimates as they go, and post that to the general ledger. If I'm looking at the specific estimate, I can easily see what was the completion method calculated for this estimate, if that was something that system automatically calculated or accountant has adjusted based on the information that he had. We can see what was the calculation percent complete, and we can also see the audit trail to which voucher and at what ledger date that transaction has been posted to the general ledger. I can also review more details on the profit and loss that was calculated against the estimate. What is my current situation with WIP? What is my consumption? And what are the overall totals? And finally, all of that information that we just looked at is absolutely available within Power BI dashboards where you can combine and look at the details in the way of that meets your organization requirements the best, and create the KPIs to track your project's progress. And those Power BI dashboards can be embedded directly within Dynamics 365 and accessible within the same place as everything else that project manager would be looking at. And so this is just an example, but this is something that you can absolutely build based on your company's needs. This concludes project operations end-to-end demo. As we have seen, project operations connects together all the project team, starting with a salesperson, project manager, resource manager, team members, and accountants, and provides you the tools to plan, execute, and track the project progress. Thank you.